when your boss asks you to give an executive presentation? Well, we all get nervous when we're asked to give presentations, even in a social setting. But when our boss asks us to give a presentation to an executive, we start sweating bullets. Don't worry. Today's presentation will give you the tips you need to know how to give an excellent executive presentation. These tips are collected from 86 executives directly to you. So, you need to listen very carefully because you do not know when your next executive presentation may be. So, how do you feel? You cry for help. Help me. Step 1, know your audience. Find out exactly who's going to be in that room. Find out what their areas of interest are in the subject that you're presenting. Know what their background is with the subject. Next, know your objectives. If you walk into a meeting and you don't know what you want to walk out with, forget about it. You need to know why you're in the meeting. Does a decision need to be made? Does a change in direction need to happen with the project that you're on? Be concise. Executives are very busy people. They don't have a lot of time. You need to use the least amount of words to get your message across. Also, find out what your time allocation is and make sure you're within that time frame. I've never been in an executive meeting where the full amount of time was given to me and I was just able to use it. Be able to explain your points in 75% of the allotted time. This will greatly impress the executives. Next, be big picture. Executives know exactly what their objectives are for that year. Think of every subject that you need to go with and tie it back to their big picture objectives. This will let them know exactly what they need to do. Don't bore them with details. Be organized. The executive surveyed said that they wanted their presenters to be very organized. Have a clear opening. Explain the problem before you give the solution. Give them context. And have an excellent close. Use visual aids. The executive survey said they really appreciated a very well-created visual aid. Now, how do you do this? This is a very creative process, and it's difficult. What I do is I write the sentence down in a full sentence, and then I think, how can I explain this through a picture? Let me give you an example. I created this picture for my ISOP presentation, and the original sentence was, BIOS enhanced ads connect advertisers with BIOS customers. So I kept turning around in my head trying to think, how can I show this in a picture? And I realized that I'm making a connection through the BIOS enhanced ad between the two groups. And so this is the picture. This is creative and it's hard, but the time is well spent. Warning! The executive said that the following 8 items are things they never wanted to see in another presentation. Make sure that you pay close attention. Number 1, rambling. Know your topic, be prepared, make sure you don't ramble. Off-color humor and sexist remarks or vulgarity. Don't do it. Make sure you go through your material and make sure there's no mistakes or inconsistencies. Don't stray from the agenda. Do not use acronyms that they're not familiar with. Make sure you define them. Don't just pay attention to one person in the audience. This will make everyone else very upset, and also that person will think that you're really mean. Don't wing tough questions. Just admit that you don't know if you don't know. And also, don't ever be condescending. Next, prepare for questions. Every executive meeting I've ever been in, they immediately start asking me questions. So have them prepared. Make sure that you're using these following questions in your presentation from the beginning. They want to know why we're doing this. What's the problem? Why is it useful? What's the value? Is it really worth it? So incorporate answers to these questions throughout your entire presentation. And finally, before we go into your questions, instead of asking, why me? Why me? Ask, why have I been given this opportunity to share my unique point of view with executives? This is your opportunity, guys, to tell them your insights into the project or the issue. You're the one with the most experience, and this is your chance to tell someone who can actually make a difference. So, now it's your turn to ask me questions. Yes, Josie. Live versus over a telephone? That's an excellent question that I'm actually giving a presentation this afternoon on. There's two kinds of presentations, which I didn't actually talk about. There's slideware that you need to give a lot of detail because it's really going to be like replacement for a Word document. And then there's a presentation like this where you just have the bare, sparse details, and then you're verbally communicating a lot. So depending on the situation, you want to be able to do those two. And if it's over the phone, you can use a WebEx to send the material out over live, clicking through it. You can send it to them and just make sure that they have it in front of them. But I think the same things will go for either live or a WebEx or over the phone kind of presentation. Did that answer your question? Okay, great. Any other questions on that topic? Okay, that is an excellent question. I run all kinds of meetings all the time with people. And once you get to know your audience, you can actually tell when they're paying attention or if they're having an issue. So if you poll them and say, are there any other questions, once you know them pretty well, you can do that. But it is very difficult to tell, especially if they're all being really quiet and you know that this is a controversial topic, then you're going to have to ask, say, guys, listen, this is our bottom line here we're talking about. Do you have any concerns? So that's something you're going to have to poll for. Any other questions? Yes, Biffin.
I heard you say, this is more of an observation than a question. I heard you say that you stick to the bigger points, don't stick to the details. In presentations that I have given over the last month or two, what I've seen is the ones that we're presenting to actually want those details. So always just saying that let's take this to another discussion. Let's take this offline. Doesn't quite cut with it, even though our supervisors, our bosses want us to limit. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's where knowing your audience comes in and knowing your objectives, right? If the objective of the meeting is to dive into those details, then you need to do that. But always tie it back to the bigger picture so that way you don't lose context of what's going on. And if you know your objective, then you can make sure that you stick to the relevant details. Okay, any other questions? I think we have time for one more. Toby?
I have one question instead of one.
I'm so excited to hear it.
It surrounds two of the big things. So one is know their big picture and try to get the big picture and answer those questions. And you might not always be privy to the information they have, right? Because they're executives who don't know what the vision of the big picture is, right? So the second part of that is asking, if they ask you questions that they'll be interested.
Right.
Again, you can say, I don't know. But when you don't know 3 or 4 things in a row just because it sounds like evaluate something just because of technical. So how do you say I don't know 5 times without looking stupid?
I think it's better to admit that you don't know than making up something. Plus, before you go into a meeting, ask everybody who can tell you something about who's going to be there and what the purpose of the meeting is. Don't let yourself get caught in a situation where you're going into a meeting that you're unprepared for. So do your homework and make your boss or whoever's putting you in that situation know that they need to let you know why you're there. That will help you. So we've had a lot of material covered today, and you guys asked a lot of really good questions. If you have any more questions, I am always available to help you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon.